Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Family Matters. My name is Purity Museo. Now, Kenya is on the road to achieving universal health coverage, and one of the things that the Minister of Health did was to mandate the National Insurance Fund, NHIF, to ensure that every Kenyan was insured, and this was to reduce the cost of treatment. So tonight on the show, we talk about medical insurance, and our guest is Paul Kasema, who is the Chief Executive Officer, the Royal Association Insurance Brokers. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me around.
Yes, and I think this conversation would not have come at a better time than now, where the globe is facing the pandemic, and accessing healthcare services is as important as it has never been. So maybe let's start with, has the pandemic maybe prompted Kenyans to seek to ensure that they are insured, or what would you say we are as a country in terms of those seeking to get insurance, medical insurance covers?
Yeah. I think, yes, the pandemic has really helped a lot for people to realize they can get sick, that they might need to be able to go to hospital for treatment, because over a long period, I mean, before the pandemic, people lived well without, being sick. People didn't see the need of even thinking about medical insurance, because, I mean, somebody would say that for many years I've never seen a need to be hospitalized. But I think with this pandemic coming along, it's created some change of mindset. Yeah.
And is this mindset helping Kenyans now to get insured? Where are we? What kind of percentage of Kenyans who are insured, and is it enough compared to where we are headed to as a country?
I'll tell you globally, the medical insurance, the families that are insured are not many. In fact, you're going to find that the ones that are insured are largely benefiting from this employer sponsored schemes. That is, like, for example, you work for KBC, and KBC has got a medical scheme for employees, so you benefit out of that. But people that are not in formal employment, majority of them are still not insured.
And allow me to ask you, because you brought the automatic being automatically insured by companies, and so is there any need to get, let's say, another medical cover? If, for example, my employer has already insured me, maybe would you emphasize on the need to get another cover just in case maybe out of this space, then I'm also covered and my family is covered as well?
It depends on the scope of that cover. I'll tell you, different employers have got different levels of cover. The others will give you the basic cover. The other, because of course, it's a benefit that begins from the employer. So they want to look at what they can be able to afford. So the employers, you have a very wide cover for their employees. Then for that reason, for you and your spouse and children, assuming that they're covered in their scheme, then you don't need to take a cover. But the situations where you find the covers are small, or you cannot be able to, you utilize it and you're going to be left without cover, it's also important to have a top-up cover for yourself. Especially because you talk about affordability. And the other thing I would say is that, I mean, the reason why you do, this topic is important is not for your own medical insurance or for your spouse or children. You have sisters, your parents, that if they're sick, then you're still responsible for them. And I would say, yes, you still need to be a consumer of the medical insurance, private medical insurance.
But still there are concerns that most Kenyans, like you said, are not insured. Maybe you can tell us, why do you think are some of the reasons for this? Is it because of poverty or not a priority,
I tell you, it's the issue of culture. For a long time, the society has been there for us. In case of anything, I mean, you are sick, you need medical attention, the society always came through for us. I mean, you call your clan, you call your brothers, you call your sisters and your friends to come to contribute. But times are changing. Now people are looking more inward. That is me. In as much as they want to contribute to you, they have more responsibilities. So I think it's the time that people realize that this medical insurance is your personal responsibility. Because for a long time we've relied on Arambis. Arambis has been the culture, because look at it, even forget about the medical insurance, which is very critical. Even taking somebody to school, people needed, you call and the society was responsive. Taking your child to, you're having a wedding, you still rely on a society to come and support. But then now, people are getting they're more responsible. They have a lot of responsibilities. They want to do it, but they can't afford to do it. So it gets to a point that we need to advise Kenyans to change their mindset and look at it rightly. That yes, you can look at insurance, medical insurance, for your family, for your spouse, your children, just to have that kind of peace of mind. Because, there is also a perception that insurance is for the elite.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So is it an issue of sensitizing, is it the issue of Kenyans the need for Kenyans to learn the importance of insurance, or the gap has anything to do with sensitization and awareness? Maybe most Kenyans don't know why they should have a medical cover,
It's education sensitization.
Yes.
And I think on the forefront, the regulator, the Insurance Regulatory Authority has done very well to talk about sensitization. And lately we've seen, an uptake of insurance, medical health insurance coming up, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And us as industry players also have a role to sensitize the public, to train the public, to educate the public about the need of private healthcare insurance. And then the other thing, I'll tell you, just before long, medical insurance was not available for individuals of a family. The insurers prefer to do it on a bigger scheme. But right now, the insurers has also become quite innovative. And they have come up with individual healthcare schemes, private healthcare, family healthcare, and family insurance schemes. So I think that is helping. But yes, we have a lot of duty to do to sensitize and to educate the public.
Maybe you can tell us why medical insurance should be a basic need for Kenyans, because as we think about food, shelter and clothing, maybe you can emphasize on why also having a medical insurance cover should be in this basic needs list.
Absolutely, absolutely. The right time to think about it is now, because look at the experiences that you have. I know, look at your personal experiences. You have friends, relatives who have been looking up to you to contribute for their health care. And you want to give, but you have responsibility. You get the point there? And people have lost their health, their lives. Because you don't have, you cannot access quality healthcare providers to diagnose you properly. And even if you're going to be diagnosed, it's expensive to pay for this, for the hospitalization. It's very expensive. Because the cost of insurance, the cost of healthcare has been going up every day. So it's just a case of realizing that this thing can happen to me. And it's a case of realizing that if you have the right priority, then you can do it. Because you have very affordable products in the market today. We have, for example, as Royal Associates, we have a product that everybody, I believe, can afford. Because when you're doing it, you are targeting the middle and the bottom of the pyramid, the majority of the people. The normal mwananchi, the mama boga, the guy who's running a garage, the guy who's running a small shop. Because 16,000 purity in a year, not a month.
Let's talk about the insurance options.
Yes.
Do we have enough? Maybe Kenyans are not getting insured because there are no enough insurance covers. And when I talk about enough, what I mean is what they can afford. And probably that's why they say it's a rich person's affair. Yes.
Over the period, I think the insurance players have done very well to innovate products that are affordable and that resonate with a mwananchi, a family. And that's why, for example, and not only us, I'm sure the other underwriters who are having premiums that are not far away from the 16,000 per month, per year. So the issue is affordability. 16,000 per year. How many people can afford 16,000 a year? Somebody can say it's too much.
Some cannot.
But I think majority can. You know why? 16,000 per year. When you break it down, it's about 1,000, just about 1,700 or thereabout per month, isn't it? So how many other things do we prioritize and spend bigger money than that? Take, for example, be telling friends, how much money do people spend in a month on entertainment? Take a weekend out, you go meet with your friends, you're buying drinks, you're buying things for happiness. You do one weekend, the other weekend. When you put up together, how much is it? It's going to be much, much more than the 1,700. It's only that it is not a priority. It's only that in the mind that this thing is not a priority. It becomes a priority when it hits you. Talking about a personal experience, recently I've got two boys. So one of them was diagnosed with a very, very complicated condition to cure. Very complicated. And it's been well over the years. I actually never imagined him going for hospitalization. And that's when you need to change. Anything can happen. Then one day, we just go to the hospital, and he's diagnosed with a very, very complicated condition that to cure you need a lot of money. You need millions. Say 20 million. If I was to fundraise for 20 million, assuming I didn't have cover medical insurance, if I was to fundraise for 20 million, how long will it take for me to get that kind of money? It take very long, right? But if you have a cover, you just walk in and you can now be able, you have peace of mind. The only thing you just want, what you want is a quality health care for the child. And I believe that can happen to everybody else.
It can.
I mean, you know many people who woke up today and things change suddenly. And then if you've not taken medical insurance, what's going to happen? You'll call for ambulance. And if you do not raise enough money, because it's not going to be possible nowadays, then we resort to selling your life savings, if you have. And if you do not have, then you resign. You say, let it be.
So for now, it's just to encourage those who can afford the covers to take. But I would also ask, like, what the options, when I'm asking about the options available, it's in terms of the cheapest medical covers available, you know, because there are people maybe who will not afford the
16,000.
Yes, or even the 1,000 in a month.
Yes.
But as a country, have we provided, you know, is there provision for people who maybe can afford even lesser than that, or even the unemployed? Because most of the time you get a medical cover when you're employed or you are doing something, but the majority of people out here are unemployed, and so they cannot afford this. What can we do as a country to also take care of this larger population?
Innovation. And innovation is coming in this sense. Build a product. Even talk about 16,000. And I'll tell you, at some point, that 16,000 will even be lower. Why is it going to be? Because insurance operates on a principle of large numbers, principle of a pool. A pool is you have many people contributing, like a chama. So you have many people contributing in that pool, so that if one of the members or contributors of the pool as is supposed to go in for treatment or has a situation, then you use the fund for that pool to take care of that person. So if the pool is smaller, and that's what we're saying, if we can work together to ensure the numbers are bigger, that many people are coming on board, then the medical insurance cost will go down. It will go down. As it is right now, without good numbers, then the underwriters are going to burn their figures. Because you're going to insure, say, a few lives, and then you find two of them are blowing 20 million for treatment. Then you find it doesn't make sense. So the only thing is for Kenyans to realize that they need to join this pool through training, through sensitization, through understanding, and changing their mind. And then once you do that, then the pool becomes bigger. As it grows, then the cost of insurance gets smaller also. So it can actually go much, much lower, depending on what kind of fund have you put together.
But is there an issue with the insurance companies? Because Kenyans, majority of them still get frustrated. You either will go to the hospital and realize that that hospital this cover is not allowed or cannot be accepted in this hospital, or even the cover at that particular time is not working.
I'll tell you.
So what are usually the issue?
The issue on that. I'll tell you, it's about clarity. You know, most of us, we're selling insurance. Sometimes you oversell. Sometimes you don't even take time to explain to the customer that this is the cover. Because like you're saying, remember the pool for the health insurance is still small. So for us, you know, we can't cover everything. So we have some exclusions.
Okay, so for insurance companies, there are some hospitals that cannot be covered. Reason?
Some hospitals. Okay, I'll tell you, when you're structuring the cover, you come up with the options kind of a situation. So you say, because some premium hospitals are expensive. Take, for example, if you're going to one of the main top hospitals and a tier 2 hospital, you're going to find the costs. The costs are different. So depending on the cost of the scheme, the underwriters will come and say that I will only be able to afford to provide this kind of coverage at this premium because because I've only put in budget hospitals or tier 2 hospitals, which are not as expensive as the top layer. I don't know that together. So
as expensive, does it mean that is this maybe linked to the amount that the client is paying, such that if, for example, you go for the lower medical cover,
yes,
then there are hospitals that you cannot, get services from, or what's usually...
I'll tell you how it works.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let me talk about the enrollment that I have today.
Yeah.
I've talked about 16,000. Now, 16,000 is premium that you pay to access all providers in the country, except the top, like, for example, the Nairobi Hospital, the Aga Khan, the MP Shah, the Gertrude. I mean, those are top.
But there's another package where you can access
yes,
services from these hospitals.
Now you can, and I'll tell you, even
okay,
going for what you've done. The other one, the difference is not much in premium, because the one of the tier 2, all the hospital providers, excluding the top 4, you're paying 16,000 per year for a cover of 500,000. But if you want now to access everybody, then you pay a little bit more, say 20,000.
So
20,000 for the same amount of cover, for the same limit.
Okay.
So the only difference is, if I'm paying a little bit more, then I want to be able to access the top, the major hospitals, including the 5. But then you might come and say that, look, I might not have to go to that hospital. So I'm comfortable with the others. By the way, the others are also big. The others
the
are
client
good
is able to choose.
Absolutely.
There's also this other issue where if I'm going to the hospital, even with the ones that are the cover is able to take care of, I'm always like crossing my fingers that I'll not go and find out, told that this cover is not working tonight. Maybe you have to wait till tomorrow or after 2 days. What is usually the issue between the hospital and the insurer? And because it's a challenge for so many Kenyans,
A very good question, Purity.
Yeah.
And I think probably that explains why the medical uptake is still very low. Lack of trust. Because you've got a card, but you don't trust it. You've got a card, you've got a medical card, and you're trusting, should anything happen, you just pray to God. I hope that my insurance is going to cover that. I hope if they go to a hospital, I'm not going to be chased away. I think we have a lot of duty ourselves to do. As you're designing the products, we also need to bring up clarity. Clarity in the cover, so that if I'm selling you a cover, I need to be very clear with you that these are the ailments that you're covering, or these are the few exclusions that I'm not going to be covered with the cover. So that by the time you even go to the hospital, you're very clear, the contract is very clear, that I know this and that is not fully covered, or there are limits on that, clear understanding. And I think, yes, I call my colleagues in the industry to be a bit more clear, to have clear contracts, so that there is a clear understanding, and so that we are not be misunderstood, or the issue of trust does not prevent people buying healthcare insurance.
Because it's a really big issue.
No, it is, I understand.
And maybe what can be done to streamline this, because most of the time is usually misunderstanding between the insurer and the hospital, and of course who will suffer.
Absolutely.
The client.
Now I'll tell you, again talk about our regulator, Insurance Regulatory Authority. The role is to protect the public. And when they're coming up with clear contracts, so that there's an understanding. They are removing the whole language, the language that you common man cannot understand. So they're coming up with the product, wordings or language that even you, Purity, you can look at it and understand it. It's very clear. But yes, we still have to do a lot of work. If you're selling the insurance, let's be very clear to our customers that this is what you're selling. That your cover will cover you 1, 2, 3. That the cover will cover you for 100,000 maternity. Instead of you assuming, because I've got a cover of 2 million, so I go to the hospital and I'm assuming that I need to be covered for 2 million. So we need to bring clarity.
Yeah.
And I think the regulator, the government are doing quite a lot to be able to bring, that sanity. Yes.
And I hope that will be sorted out. Now the goal here is to ensure that Kenyans can access health services at affordable,
absolutely.
If not free, because we are looking at achieving the universal health coverage. That's the president's agenda. Maybe at Royal Associates, are you considering the universal health coverage agenda and trying to help the government
to achieve the agenda?
Kenyans enjoy this. Absolutely. Maybe you can tell us what you do.
At Royal Insurance Broker, the reason why we're coming with these innovative products is to assist the government in achieving the universal health care. So we are doing a lot on that. That's why we're coming up with products for individuals. And I'll tell you what, through innovation, before we're not covering seniors. If you're above 65, then you could not access health insurance. But through the innovations, I think us and many other players, we have come up with products that are pushed the age limit to about 75 or 80 years. So that is helping a lot. And again, I think the government is helping as well, and we are supposed to partner with the NHIF. I mean, the private sector and the NHIF are partnering up to come up with products with probably minimal exclusions and with affordable premiums. And you know, again, I go back again to the issues of pull. If majority of the Kenyans then appreciate the value of the medical insurance and they come on board, join it, trust me, the government will achieve that because the cost of healthcare insurance will go to come down greatly.
And when you talk about innovation, maybe I'm looking at a time where I do not have to literally walk into the offices of my insurer because some of the cases are really an emergency.
Yes.
You know, so what are
now
we
I'll tell you,
at?
technology. I think for anybody, for us to be able to achieve this, then we need to invest a lot on technology. Technology so that we can be able to, I mean, if you want to sell insurance to lots of Kenyans, how then are you going to provide healthcare, I mean the coverage, to somebody who is in Garissa? Does he need to come to Nairobi, fill the forms? Maybe he doesn't even know Nairobi. So what we are doing, and let me talk about Rural Associates, we have come up with end-to-end e-commerce, where you don't need to come to our office to fill the documents manually, where you don't need to do lots of manual things to get a cover. You can easily access it from your phone. You can actually buy insurance, and the process will take less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes, you fill your details online from wherever you are, and then click payment, make a payment through M-Pesa or through any other online means, and then you get an online e-card. So within 2 minutes, you don't need to travel to an insurance company. You don't need to travel to any office to get the insurance. You can actually do it at home, whatever time, in the comfort of your home. Yes.
And maybe what options do you have in terms of different types of covers? Because there are some looking at maybe individual covers and others want to insure their entire family. Absolutely.
Now, I'll tell you, the majority of the insurance players, the cover they've come up with, they've given options. I mean, you say that, look, I'm not married. I don't want to have insurance for myself. I have an option for that. I have an option for that. It's like I have an option for that. So I'll be able to buy. There's a lower premium. And then if you have a wife, then it becomes member plus 1. Then you are 2. The premiums increase a little bit. If you have a child, then we become member plus 2. So the 2 are independent. So you can choose to buy a cover for yourself. And depending on the number of dependents around the family size, then you can choose the cover you want. Because the options are there. You can choose the cover you want, depending on the size of your of your family. And that, through the e-commerce that I'm talking about, it's very clear. Anybody can understand it. Anybody can do it. And it's so clear. It's not complicated. It will give you the options. Are you alone? You tick. If you're alone, limit what you want. Are you more than one? Then you tick the number of dependents that you want to bring on board. Yes.
And maybe as insurance companies, what do you think should be done to just ensure also on your part, you reduce the pricing for the packages that you have? For example, if the government does this, then we are able to provide a package of even 200 shillings for those who can afford.
Brilliant question.
It's an example because there are people who will not get to the
1,700. Yes, they want to. But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Yes.
In a month, there are people who will not even get to even the 500 for the NHIF card.
It's quite.
So maybe what need to be done to ensure that all Kenyans, no Kenyan is left behind?
I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of, we are having a lot of dialogue with the NHIF, the private sector, of course represented by MIPAC, Medical Insurance Practitioner Board. By the way, from our office, the secretary is from our office. So they are working a lot to ensure that they have an understanding. They've come up with a dovetail product between NHIF, the government-sponsored scheme, and the NHIF, and the private insurance. So to ensure that, yes, the costs come down and we are covered properly. Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing I'm hoping, even probably, the other thing to include the penetration is the laws and the regulations. The government has done a lot to regulate, to say that some products are compulsory, like marine. If you're bringing cargo or goods to Kenya, you must take insurance locally. So I'm hoping we'll get to a point, and because it's good, we get to a point where it will be compulsory. That at least buy basic healthcare insurance to ensure that you're not a burden to the state. Yes.
You think that will help?
A lot. Because you see, I'll tell you what, even if you talk about 16,000 or 1,000 shillings, and as many people come on board, then it's even going to go down. Then, and you're making you make it compulsory, then the overall cost comes down and everybody is covered, everybody is insured.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have issues where people lose their lives because they cannot afford, or they are looking upon the society to help, or they have to sell their life savings to finance, because it can be expensive. I know, Purity, you know many people. You must have seen groups where you've been put in, and you see the kind of bills that people are fundraising to provide. So I think it's a big problem, and I think the government is doing a lot to be able to come up with a solution. So in partnership with the government and the private insurers, providers, they're coming up with that product. One thing I know, the government also is coming up with a national insurance policy. Again, agreeing with the stakeholders for that accessibility, that Kenyans can access affordable healthcare, hassle-free, without having to go through issues. I mean, the manual things.
I'm told we need to wind up, but let me ask you this question. Maybe in a minute you can answer. Is there a standard way of acquiring one? Or if I need medical cover right now, what do I need to do? In terms also of age, is there an age limit of, acquiring medical cover?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and also your parting shot in a minute.
Wow, no, I think yes. There is, yes, it's different.
Yeah.
The products are quite different, and accessing, they are different underwriters that have got different age bands. There are people who are still saying that I can only cover people up to below 65. The others are saying I'm going to do up to 70. Because innovation is still happening, we are hoping very soon people, even 80 years, will be covered. Yes.
Okay.
And the parting shot, I think I want to say, healthcare is your personal responsibility. I think it's the time that we need to look at it and say that this is mine. That at the end of the day, I don't want to depend on a clan. I don't want to depend on society to decide whether I'm going to live or not. I don't want to depend on the clan and the society to decide whether my child is going to get health care or not. I only need to prioritize it and look for it, because largely it's affordable, and get an insurance, affordable medical insurance for your family.
Get insured, get a medical insurance for your
family.
All right, thank you so much, Paul Kasema, CEO, Royal Associates Insurance Brokers. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much, sir.
Right.
And thank you so much for watching our show tonight. That's where we wrap it up. I'm Purity Museo. Do enjoy the rest of our programming, and good week ahead. God bless.